This week we're talking about ethics with 21st century technology. So one of the first articles I read was titled Student Wrongly Tied to Boston Bombings Found Dead. So the subtitle reads Reddit apologized for the dangerous speculation on the site that pointed fingers at the student. The student in question, 22-year-old Sunil Tripathi, was found dead on the lake. He was wrongly identified as the Boston bomber through Reddit about a year before this was published. And it's because Reddit is a community where they allowed blog posts and different responses. And once they got a hold of the FBI pictures trying to identify the Boston bomber, Tripathi was pointed as a Boston bomber and was wrongly identified, and yet people still tried to believe that he was the Boston bomber. There was no sign of trauma. Reddit apologized, but never explicitly said that it was their fault. So the next article we read was Confronting the Challenges of Participatory Culture and Media Education for the 21st Century. In this article, we focused on the ethics portion. One thing that immediately stood out was students learn ethical norms through high school newspapers. So they have teachers, they have leaders that help them make the correct decisions in what information to public, what they shouldn't public, misinformation. And this has changed a bit because you don't really hear about high school newspapers as much. You hear about news on technology on your phone. So these participatory cultures have little supervision. Because they have little supervision, they don't have people allowing ethical decisions to be made. They're not learning about what are the right choices online to publish and not to publish. And to summarize, they talk about that students should just reflect more on ethical decisions on technology platforms. What should they post on Facebook? What should they tweet on Twitter? What should they talk about on Reddit? All these things are decisions that they need to make. And the next thing we read was the NPR Ethics Handbook. So NPR is a news outlet that want to create a more informed public. These guidelines employees use to spread information. There's 10 guidelines that they have to read through and go through to be able to be an employee, to be accurate, to be fair, to have completeness, honesty, independence, impartiality, transparency, accountability, excellence, respect. All these guidelines have their own little descriptions to talk about how they're important to create a more informed public, to create news that's accurate, fair, etc. Now, how do I feel? I feel like pointing fingers and hiding behind fake accounts is ethically wrong. Whoever said that Sunil Tripathi was the Boston bomber and all the people that supported this idea was misinformed and just created this whole idea that we could just assume ended in suicide because there was no trauma on the body. And as a future teacher, we just need to go beyond saying that not citing your sources is ethically wrong. We need to go beyond just this idea that citing your sources is the only thing we need to talk about. We need to talk about what you should be publishing, what you shouldn't be publishing, what should you be posting online, what should you be advocating online. And these ethical decisions on how to think online should be a topic of discussion. We should be talking about it in classrooms and helping our students make the correct decisions online because ultimately they'll have the power at home behind the computer. And having a news article like the USA Today article drive conversations in the classroom will help the students get more interested and will help create this topic of discussion that we need to have.